Bonjour les élèves. Here I have for you a thorough lesson on les verbes pronominaux, or as we refer to them in English, reflexive verbs. First, I want you to compare two sentences. Monsieur Honoré lave sa voiture. Pierre se lave. In our first sentence, we have Monsieur Honoré, who is the subject, and he is washing his car. Our second sentence shows us a reflexive verb. Here we have Pierre, who is washing himself. A reflexive verb is used when the subject performs and receives the action. The subject is actually both the subject and the object of the sentence. When using a reflexive verb, an additional pronoun is needed, and we refer to that pronoun as the reflexive pronoun. So to take a look at a reflexive pronoun, I want you to compare a sentence. Richard lave sa voiture. Richard se lave les cheveux. In the second sentence, we have a reflexive pronoun. The reflexive pronoun is used to show that the action is being done by the subject to the subject. Each subject pronoun has a corresponding reflexive pronoun. It's kind of like saying myself, himself, herself in English. So I'm going to go through this chart with you and have you write down all of the different reflexive pronouns. So if your subject is je, the reflexive pronoun that you would use if I am doing something to myself is me. Used as an object pronoun, this means me. So I'm going to use the example of the verb se lever as my example in all of these sentences. Se lever, if you remember, means to get up, like when you get up in the morning, or to raise yourself. So if I wanted to use this in a sentence saying I get myself up, that's the literal translation, I would say je me lève. Me goes in front of the verb, and I conjugate the verb just like I would any other ER verb. Now, something you might have just noticed, lever, like acheter, has an accent with all of the forms except for the nu and the vu form. So it is considered a Snoopy verb. The subject tu has the corresponding pronoun te. So you get yourself up, tu te lèves. The subjects il, elle, and on, or if you have a singular third-person subject, the reflexive pronoun is se, which we've used in the infinitives. So he gets himself up, il se lève. We corresponds with nous. So we get ourselves up would be nous lèvons. Sometimes this takes a while because people aren't used to seeing nous written next to each other in the sentence, but that's exactly what it would be, nous lèvons. The corresponding pronoun for vous is vous. So vous levez, to say you all get yourselves up. And then the reflexive pronoun that goes with il or elle pluriel is the same one you use with il or elle singular. So to say they get themselves up, ils se lèvent. So those are the reflexive pronouns that go with each of the subject pronouns to indicate that the person doing the action is doing that action to him or herself. So if you're going to use one of these reflexive verbs in the negative, ne and pas are going to surround the pronoun and the verb, just like it does with a verb and an object pronoun. Par exemple, if you wanted to make this sentence, Richard se lave les cheveux, Richard washes his hair. If you wanted to make that negative, it would be Richard ne se lave pas les cheveux, where ne and pas surround both the reflexive pronoun and the verb. Avec deux verbes, well, sometimes there's times when we need to have two verbs in a sentence. In sentences with more than one verb, the pronoun and the infinitive follow the first verb. In other words, the reflexive pronoun is going to go in front of the infinitive, just like it did with object pronouns when you had two verbs in a sentence. So Richard va se laver les cheveux après l'école. Richard's going to wash his hair after school, where the reflexive pronoun se laver, se goes in front of the infinitive laver after the conjugated verb va. Here's another example. If you want to say on Saturdays, I don't like to get myself up early. Le samedi, je n'aime pas me lever tôt. You can see where the reflexive pronoun me and the infinitive lever go in this negative sentence. Any verb can be made reflexive anytime you want to say myself or himself, like I see myself, I read to myself, I talk to myself. But there are some verbs that are always going to be used reflexively, and those are often verbs that we use when talking about our daily routine. If you look at this list, many of these are verbs that we have already put on our vocab list, or verbs that we will have on our second vocab list for the chapter. And all of these are verbs that would be used in order to talk about what we do to get ourselves ready throughout the day. So they're verbs that talk about our daily routine. So I'll go through the meaning of these, although you have most of them in your vocab list already. But se lever is to get up, to get oneself up. Se peigner is literally to comb oneself, but of course you're meaning les cheveux. Se raser, to shave. Se coucher, to go to bed. Se laver is to wash oneself. Se maquiller, to put makeup on oneself. Se préparer means to prepare oneself. S'appeler means to call oneself. That's what we use in the expression je m'appelle or comment tu t'appelles when you're talking about someone's name. S'habiller, to get oneself dressed. S'endormir, to fall asleep. Se brasser, to brush, which you could follow with les cheveux or les dents. Se réveiller, to wake up. And se dépêcher is to hurry oneself. I would like to add one other verb to this list that they don't talk about in this chapter, but I did want to mention. Whenever you say to have fun, the French don't have a noun for fun like we do. They actually use a reflexive verb, and that reflexive verb is s'amuser. Literally, to amuse one's self, so it kind of translates a little bit funny to us. But s'amuser is what you would use if you want to say to have fun. So if you say, I am having fun today, or I am having fun in French class, you would say, je m'amuse à la classe de français. So just another verb that you can add to your list of reflexive verbs. Okay, that does it for reflexive verbs in the present tense. Au revoir les élèves.